coming up on Network Africa. Head of Sudan's military says the RSF militants must put down their weapons for a chance at peace. Libya's rival legislative factions agree to end central bank leadership crisis. Plus, experts warn that heavy dependence on Chinese goods could weaken African economies. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. We're beginning in Benin Republic, where we reported a few days ago 3 men, including a former minister and the man in charge of President Patrice Talon's security, were arrested on suspicion of plotting a coup. Now, according to the prosecutor, Elonim Metonu, ex-sports minister Oswald Homek was caught while handing over 6 bags of money to the head of the Republican Guard on Tuesday. Investigators allege Colonel Jimon Diodon was being bribed not to resist a coup d'etat planned for today in the country. Also detained is businessman Olivier Boko, a friend of President Talon's, who had recently indicated he had political ambitions. Boko's lawyers and supporters are calling his arrest an abduction and are demanding his immediate release. Investigations are still ongoing to identify further suspects. Rights groups, however, report that Benin, once praised as a multi-party democracy, seems to be taking a more autocratic turn under President Patrice Talon. The president has announced he will not run for a third term in office in the 2026 elections. President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria has called on African nations to adopt a new agenda that prioritizes adding value to their raw minerals to industrialize the continent and provide sustainable economic growth. This was put forward by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the African Mineral Strategy Group meeting on the sidelines of the ongoing 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lassisi, reports on this and other events that took place on the sidelines of the UNGA. We'll return to that story in a minute. In the meantime, Sudan's Army General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan says any peace efforts depend on the RSF laying down their arms, adding that there must be withdrawal of RSF troops from El Fasher, Khartoum, and any other place currently occupying before a ceasefire can be considered. Sudan's army launched artillery and airstrikes in the capital on Thursday in its biggest operation to regain ground since early in its 17-month war with the Rapid Support Forces. The push by the army, which lost control of most of the capital at the start of the conflict, came ahead of an address by its commander, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, at the United Nations General Assembly. RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, in a recorded speech addressed to the UNGA and released just after Burhan spoke, repeated previous pledges that his force is open to a nationwide ceasefire that would allow delivery of aid. US-led diplomatic efforts have failed to broker peace so far in Sudan, with the army refusing to attend talks last month in Switzerland. We can bring you now President Bola Tinubu's address to African nations, as reported by the Vice President Kashim Shettima on the sidelines of the UNGA. Our correspondent Larry Lassisi has more on this and other events on the sidelines of the 79th UNGA.
Vice President Kashim Shettima arriving for the African Mineral Strategy Group meeting taking place on the sidelines of the ongoing 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, who is the chairman of the group, laid out the group's vision to transform Africa's mining industry through local value addition and industrialization.
By moving from commercialization to industrialization, we expand the capital formation of the mineral sector, increase employment of the people, provide opportunities for skills acquisition, facilitate the production of finished goods for local consumption and exports, reduce our reliance on imported products, and ultimately raise the contribution of the solid mineral sector to our GDP.
The Vice President, delivering President Bola Tinubu's address at the event, points out the critical need for a new approach. He further emphasized Africa's determination to move beyond the historic exploitation of its resources.
It is evident that Africa is desirous of shaking off the toga of requests for aid and grants, a situation in which the raw materials are extracted from our countries, exported, refined, and sold to us as finished products at higher prices, merely consolidates the foundations of our military and pushes us further down the depths of underdevelopment. We seek to break free by localizing the whole mineral resource value chain, from extraction to processing, and then to sales within our countries. We have skilled men and women.
Other meetings held around the city where reports were presented and agreements reached.
We also have a position statement where young people have given their opinions on the challenges for why young people are not able to key into that, and also recommended solutions. So we shared that position at different forums, at different side events, and we've also taken the takeaways to be able to ensure that we are able to intimate young people in Nigeria. We are trying to make sure that the mistake with the SDGs don't reoccur. The SDGs, most young people are waking to it late.
This report came up with some set of recommendation suggesting to the government to take more proactive action so that we are able to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 16. Because without taking those recommendation to improve in our institutions, to improve in our judicial system, to improve in the anti-corruption, it will be extremely difficult for us to make the necessary progress and even achieve the Sustainable Development Goal in Nigeria.
I think the biggest impact for Nigeria has been just our sheer presence here. Nigeria being a leader in Africa has shown leadership in our presence, our message, and our dialogue, and just our general communication with other countries, heads of states, foreign missions, and especially the business community.
These side events are a crucial part of the annual gathering here at the General Assembly, complementing the formal sessions and in their own way contributing to making the world a better place. From New York, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
It was a turn of the Kenyan President William Ruto to address the United Nations General Assembly on Thursday, and he began his speech by affirming the country's dedication to peacekeeping efforts in Haiti. He informed the Assembly that under the authorization of the Security Council Resolution 2699, Kenya has sent 382 specially trained police officers to Haiti. President Ruto was recently in Haiti. He shared his observations on the progress officers have made in the country so far. Away from that, he called out the Security Council, accusing it of non-inclusivity, non-accountability, and autocracy.
Following the Security Council's authorization under Resolution 2699, Kenya has deployed 382 specially trained police officers to Haiti. Just a few days ago, I had the opportunity to visit Haiti, witness the work of our officers in the field, and observe remarkable progress on the ground. Our support for the Haitian National Police has significantly advanced the pacification of cities and towns, protected critical infrastructure, and relieved many communities previously held captive by criminal gangs. The existing international security architecture, represented by the UN Security Council, continues to hamper efforts to maintain international peace and security. The Council is, by all intents and purposes, dysfunctional, undemocratic, non-inclusive, unaccountable, autocratic, and at best, opaque.
Kenyan President William Ruto. In the meantime, President Ruto met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and expressed his appreciation for America's support for Africa. Speaking some more on his recent visit to Haiti, he noted the significant progress made there, including improvements to the airport, hospital, and police academy near the port. However, he stated the significant gaps that remain and pleaded that more resources be pumped into Haiti to fill in these gaps. Kenya is the first nation to send forces as part of a larger effort by the UN to offer international support to Haiti, which has been embroiled in conflict and political upheaval since President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated in 2021. Away from the UNGA, representatives of Libya's rival Eastern and Western legislative bodies have signed an agreement to end a crisis over leadership of the central bank. In talks facilitated by the United Nations, they opted to nominate an interim governor and a deputy. The agreement could help defuse a crisis over control of the Central Bank of Libya and oil revenues that have caused Libya's oil output and exports to nosedive. The rival factions agreed to nominate the CBL's Director of Banking and Monetary Control, Naji Belkacem, as interim governor. Mari Barassi, who was appointed deputy governor in 2023, is nominated to continue in his position. The crisis began when the head of the Presidential Council, based in Tripoli, Mohammed Al-Menfi, moved to replace veteran central bank governor Sadiq Al-Kabir last month. That led Eastern factions to order a halt on Libya's oil field output in protest.
It's shown the imperative for all parties to refrain from unilateral decisions. Such decisions not only escalate tensions, but they also deepen the institutional divisions. As we gather today to witness the signing of an agreement aimed at ending this crisis, I, along with the international community and Libyans throughout Libya, look forward to the reversal and suspension of all unilateral decisions whose harmful impact persist or may arise in the future. I also want to emphasize the urgent need to end the closure of the oil fields and disruption of oil production and export, and I welcome the pledges from the East to address this issue shortly, and also the importance to channel the revenue from this vital resource through the institutional framework to the Central Bank of Libya.
The 8th China Home Life South Africa is currently underway in Johannesburg. This year's edition is showcasing over 500 suppliers with 800 booths displaying nearly 14,000 products. It will give South African importers an opportunity to directly access products from Chinese manufacturers. However, some economists argue that heavy reliance on Chinese products may make African economies vulnerable to external shocks and reduce their ability to develop self-sustaining industries. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, explains.
Africa's large and growing population offers a substantial market for Chinese goods and investment. Now in its 8th year, China Home Life South Africa brings together importers and suppliers in one location. The event is organized by Binu Pillay, COO of Marriott International Exhibition.
So I think we are kind of maintaining a similar size, plus or minus 10 or 15%, I would say. We have about 350 exhibitors this year. Last year, we probably had about 320.
The Chief Executive Officer of Volt High Tech Solutions South Africa, Kathy Shilova, says China-South Africa relations is vitally important.
So South Africa and China, they enjoy a very great relationship. As you know, the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, actually government of South Africa and some of our business in South Africa, they were in China forging different relationships.
Meanwhile, Vincent Yongdong from Wenzhou Yongdong Machinery shares the same sentiments.
I'm a businessman, so Africa is very good market, Everything, I see young people on every street.
Economist Magwema Silela believes China's increasing exports to Africa can have several disadvantages for the continent.
As a country or a continent buying a lot of things from other countries or continents, it means that that particular country that you are buying from, in this instance, if say it's China, that Africa is buying a lot of things from them, it means China itself, its economy is growing in the sense that those people that are selling stuff to us, it means they've created the necessary jobs.
Meanwhile, trade analyst Viwe Nchongwana had this to say.
Chinese goods are made relatively cheaply and enter the African market cheaply. They flood or tend to flood certain African markets, undercutting certain similar goods that have been manufactured in Africa, and that undercutting reduces the demand of the similar goods that have been manufactured in Africa.
This ongoing dialogues about the benefits and risks of such partnerships is essential as Africa navigates its economic future. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Simmons, Channels Television.
We're off on a short break on Network Africa. Still ahead. Mobile Classrooms app transforms Nigerian students' learning experience. You'd want to know about this. Stay with us. Welcome back. And here in Nigeria, the Red Cross Society is set to raise the sum of 2.5 billion naira to support 31.5 million people who are at risk of suffering severe hunger and malnutrition by October 2024. The Lagos State Branch Chairman, Mrs. Adebola Kolawole, made this known during a press conference in Lagos. She says the NRCS is set to launch an intervention fund this weekend under the theme Keeping Humanity Alive, aiming to avert the effects of severe hunger in Nigeria. She also says over 31.5 million people are at risk of severe hunger, driven by the impacts of conflict and climate change, and steps must be taken to address the issue as soon as possible.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society will launch a fundraiser under the theme Keeping Humanity Alive. Our goal is to raise 2.5 billion naira to support 31.5 million people who are at the risk of suffering severe hunger and malnutrition by October 2024, unless something drastic is done now. The farming early warning system has stated that due to a combination of factors which are conflict, drought, and inflation, many people will suffer hunger this year. Last year, the figure of people at risk was 26.5 million. Now it is 31.5 million. This crisis demands a collective response from us all. We cannot stand by and watch as entire communities are pushed to the brink of survival. In the Red Cross, our driving mantra is alleviating human suffering whenever it may be found or wherever it may be found. And this is exactly what we intend to do.
Still in Nigeria, the World Food Programme, through the Africa Youth Growth Foundation, has launched a wheat distribution project to assist over 68,000 vulnerable households in Katsina State. The distribution began with a small ceremony in Kerfi local government area and was attended by the Executive Director of AYGF, Dr. Arome Salifu, the Senior Special Assistant to the Katsina State Governor, Miriam Sudangi, and other dignitaries. Dr. Salifu expressed his gratitude to the World Food Programme, the Katsina State Government, and the host communities, appreciating the joint efforts at addressing the growing crisis of food insecurity. The project is targeted towards 5 local government areas in a bid to reduce food insecurity caused by banditry and violence in the region.
We thank the State Governor for the support and also the security agencies for the enabling environment to make this a reality. We also want to thank the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, the local government officials for the mobilization of their followers and subjects to receive the commodities. We, of course, must not forget to thank the World Food Programme for providing the commodity on one side and also providing the necessary technology and modalities to ensure logical and smooth distribution of these commodities. Persons have been logically identified and picked to truly ensure that people who truly are affected are the ones receiving these commodities. So what are the changes?
Finally, on the program, there's no doubt about the improvements tech has brought to the education sector, from personalized learning systems to interactive online platforms that enhance the learning experience of students. The mobile classroom is one of such apps aiming to bridge the learning gap for both secondary and tertiary students while ensuring the preservation of the intellectual property of educators on the platform.
In today's world, learning is changing with tech, making it as dynamic as the students it serves. That's where the mobile classroom app comes in, a platform that puts on-the-go learning right at the fingertips of Nigerian students. According to the founder, Akeem Salami, the app was born out of a desire to bridge learning gaps using technology.
It's actually an e-learning platform that was actually put in place like almost 4 or 5 years ago. So then it was actually for secondary school students, where we put up like almost 1,000 video content for secondary school. But in the recent time, we extended the opportunities to tertiary institutions, the lecturers in higher institutions, coaches and facilitators anywhere.
Built by a team passionate about learning, this app brings the classroom straight into the pockets of both students and lecturers.
We have different lecturers that are lecturers on the platform.
Creating a space where students can engage with their studies anytime while also supporting educators to share their knowledge beyond their schools.
There are two major things we have considered. Number one is that we look at how lecturers are being empowered. How can they take advantage of technology to advance their well-being? So we feel if lecturers can have a space of their own to preserve their intellectual asset, it means that students of other schools who do not have the privilege to attend UNILAG will have the opportunity to take lecture from a lecturer UNILAG for as long as the lecturer can take him better. So we are trying to bring inter-institutional exploitations of intellectual material, that you can be a student of Biapatech, mass communications, and be taking lecture from a student of Unilearning, lecturer of Unilearning. So this is what we have thought of to put this. And secondly, we also understand that with the way things are going in the world, flexibility is a key thing that we have to consider. Many students have to work and learn. And how do they combine this if there is a scheduled time for them to take the lecture? So if lecturers have put up their lecture video on their lecture space, students at their own convenient time can have access to this content. So in this case, we feel them having access to their lecturers, their content, their lecture material, video, or audio base at their own convenient time will enhance learning.
Unique features of the app like My Class and virtual tests that aim to make the learning and teaching process easier. Here, educators can create personalized classes and upload lecture materials, and students can revisit these lessons at their own pace.
My Class is just a replica of a Spotify that is available for musicians, but My Class is for lecturers to upload their intellectual materials recorded so that their students can have the opportunity to reassess their lecture at their own convenient time. It's a kind of empowerment for lecturers too, while also making learning easy for people. While the virtual test is just to test people, just like the lecturers in our institutions want to conduct the assessment test. And they have to go through the rigors of writing tests on paper, marking and recording. Now they can conduct their assessment test virtually.
While the platform is more than just a tool, but an opportunity for both lecturers and students to stay on track with their academic goals, for students, the mobile classroom app means access to hundreds of lessons on any device, anytime they want, and for lectures. It's a chance to extend their reach beyond traditional institutions, which is a win-win for both sides.
That's Network Africa today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.